Wow, 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 wow. What a game. What a game of football. Uh, I genuinely don't know what to say, man. First and foremost, I think we've got to go and say that football won today. For neutrals, what a performance, especially, the yesterday's game between PSG and Arsenal. As good as, as a PSG fan, I was happy with the result. Got to go and say, especially in that second half, perhaps a bit of a boring game, etc., so on and so forth. Not much was happening. But today, you go and you compare that. 6 goals, 6 brilliant goals, had everything. Goals in the first minute, brilliant displays of individual brilliance with the Yamal goal, overhead kicks, screamers from 30 yards out by Rafinha. Just overall a great performance for the neutral, a great spectacle for football. But getting on into the game, I'm recording this a while now after the final whistle is blown, and honestly, I'm not even sure what to make of the game. I really am not quite sure to make of the game, and more so realistically, one team in particular, and that's Barcelona. Because from Inter, I'm not just going to say I'm shocked. I think what I saw was sort of what I expected. But from Barcelona, it's complicated because in one sense, it's what I expected from Barcelona. And in another sense, it's not. So I think, yeah, I don't know. I think the best place to start is first and foremost the overall dominance and looking at the overall stats. So 72% possession for Barca, 28% for Inter, 1.39 XG for Barca, 0.91 for Inter, 19 shots for Barca, 7 shots for Inter, and 2 big chances for Inter versus 1 big chance for Barca. And I'm assuming this 1 big chance was probably the Varane tapping goal, and these 2 big chances are probably the Denzel Dumfries goal, as well as maybe the header as well. But looking then at like the momentum of the game, I mean, that first half, play on words there, I think, I wouldn't say Inter dominated and whatnot, but I think Inter had the edge. Obviously, they scored their 2 goals then. Then after that, it was all Barca. From the 24th minute all the way to halftime, it was all Barca. And in particular, it was really all a single person. And I think it's pretty clear who that person is. The performance in that second half of that first half from the man, the myth, the legend himself, the 17-year-old Lamine Yamal was otherworldly, was completely ridiculous. Most dribbles completed in the game was 6, hit the woodwork twice. I mean, I was saying on my stream, like, Yamal have mercy. Yamal have mercy. These guys, they're defenders. They've got children, they got wives, they got parents, they got people, they've got loved ones, they've got bills to pay. Like these guys, they have lives to live after this. The way that he was just going, taking the ball, slaloming his way through defenders, taking on 1, 2, 3, 4 defenders at a time and getting away with it was silly. At one point, I was going saying, just foul him, going and just put him down and say, you're not doing that. 𝐏𝐈𝐍𝐿 style, like, okay, all this cutesy stuff, not with me. But he just did it time and time again. And then that goal that he scores in the 24th minute, right after Inter go and score their second goal. I mean, I know maybe this might be blasphemous, but for me, that's a Messi-esque goal. Taking the ball, saying, give me the ball, goes on, takes on Mkhitaryan and goes, beats him, gone. Goes in, shimmy, goes, cuts it on his left, bang, hits it, posting in, similar to that goal that he scored against Benfica in the round of 16. It was, Messi-esque in similar in the vein of, obviously not to quite the scale of that, but similar in some aspects as that Messi goal that he scored in the semifinal against Real Madrid, I think in 2011, where he goes, takes the ball from Busquets and just runs through the entire team. Obviously now, not the same thing. And Messi did away from home against Real Madrid, the rivalry, etc., so on and so forth. But I mean, you think Lamine Yamal, I think with that goal becomes the youngest ever player to score in the Champions League semifinal, alongside the other host of accolades he's gained at this point. It's really impressive just how good he was. And if it weren't for somebody else this is probably the first bit of debate that I'm probably going to have with Barca fans. If it wasn't for Denzel Dumfries on the other side here for Inter, he probably would have been the man of the match. And honestly, I don't know why. I don't understand how people, so some people are going and saying that, Lamine Yamal was by far the best player on the pitch, which, okay, I'll go and give him Lamine Yamal from the Barca perspective, 100% yes. And for the perspective from that, the second half of that first half, from 24th minute to halftime, was definitely by far the best player on the pitch. However, are we forgetting the performance that Denzel Dumfries had? Denzel Dumfries today is involved in every single one of those Inter goals. Every single one. Got a goal, 2 goals, and an assist. And if it weren't for the offside goal, which we'll talk about later on, by Inter, he would have ended here 2 goals, 2 assists, away from home in a Champions League game. As a wing back, what more do you want him to do? What more do you want him to do? I don't get what argument. Even beyond that, he won the most duels in this game with 9. 2 goals again as an assist. Of course, we'll go and say that, yeah. And the 2 goals he scored are brilliant goals. The header, maybe less so necessarily, but it's you have to go win the header, beat your man. And that first goal he scores, an overhead kick as a defender, the athleticism to do so, absolutely insane, ridiculous. But yeah, for me, in my eyes, I don't know how you can go and see that game. And yes, as good as, I don't want to go and say that. This is not to say that Lamine Yamal was bad. Lamine Yamal was excellent. Lamine Yamal was by far, for me, those 2 were the best players in the game. But for me, Denzel Dumfries has to go above. I mean, Denzel Dumfries, again, 2 goals, a brace, and an assist away in a Champions semifinal as a wingback. How often do you see that? So for me, he has to go and be the man of the match. And beyond that, I thought that Inter played sort of as I would have expected them to do so. I thought a good performances. Thuram was okay, scored a brilliant goal at the scores to score, I think, the fastest goal in semifinal history, scored in the first 35 seconds. Martinez, not going to lie, was kind of quiet. I thought Mkhitaryan was okay. Ronaldo was pretty good. Barella had his moments. But overall, it was fine. The one person, though, that really struggled today, and I'm not sure how he got this high, was DiMarco. I'm sorry, going on once again to Lamine Yamal. Federico Di Marco was going to have nightmares for a couple of days at least. The way, especially, I think it was after he scored that worldie goal where he goes in, fakes it as though he's going to cross it with his right foot, sits. He had Federico Di Marco sliding back to Milan, and then smacks it off the bar. In fairness, it was a great save from Jan Sommer. I don't get it. For me, genuinely, I ridiculous stuff. But yeah, Federico Di Marco, for me, how he's gotten away here with a 6.5 is beyond me. But then beyond that, Bastoni, I don't know why he was so low. I thought he was pretty okay today. Maybe didn't seem necessarily nearly as much going forward. Jan Sommer, I thought great performance today. Had a great save again on that Lamine Yamal shot when he cannons off the crossbar. Scores an own goal, but there's not much you can do there. It was a great strike from Rafinha. Just beyond that, made a great save again from another Rafinha shot from a long ways away. I thought he was good in coming out of his box to claim crosses and etc. so on and so forth. So I think overall a great performance from them. Barca, similar thing. I thought they had a pretty good performance, but again, Lamine Yamal was the best player. I thought Frenkie de Jong was pretty good. Pedri had a pretty good game. And this is where I'm going to go and perhaps say the controversial bit. So for me, why this game is difficult for me to analyze is that, so from Inter, I think I saw what I expected. I thought Inter would go and be solid defensively, potentially cause problems to Barca, going forward, etc., so on and so forth. And for Barca, that when they were on their game, when they were in their zone, when they were vibing, when they were touched by grace, by God, they were electric. And not gonna lie, probably maybe, especially in that moment, in that second half, when Lamine Yamal was cooking, during that period, it was every ball they got, everything they're doing, everything they were touching was turning into something, a shot creating action, etc., so on and so forth. It was just, I will say, probably of the teams left, and probably in Europe overall as a whole now, probably Barcelona in terms of attacking threat in their prime, their peak is probably the best of any team in Europe. Even slightly above, probably I'd even say PSG's at their peak when they're when everything is going right. When everything is vibing, there's still the fluidity, how just dynamic and how lethal they can be attacking wise and scoring a goal at any moment. They're probably the best. However, and a big however, I'm sorry, but defensively, and I said it on my stream, Barcelona for me are by far the worst team defensively left in this competition. By far. And for reference, for me, I've got Arsenal and Inter 1 and 2. I probably put Arsenal down based on recent form. Probably ahead of Inter number 2, a bit below that PSG, and then well below that Barca. Because I'm sorry, I went on Robbie Lou's stream and I had to listen to some other people's take on the game and their post game reactions to see maybe I was just being really harsh on things, etc., so on and so forth. And in fairness, there were things like that I didn't think initially, like the fact that, Barca are coming off playing 120 minutes away. In the Copa del Rey final against Real Madrid, drooling, there's probably some fatigue in there. And yes, in fairness, I will grant that. But I think the defensive, I don't think that was necessarily the issue. I think it was just the tactics of it. And yes, it's going to have to come back to that high line. And yes, of course, people are going to go and say first and foremost that, Barca concede 2 set piece goals, which I'll get onto shortly soon. And then the first goal doesn't really come from an issue with the high line, etc., so on and so forth. And yes, I will grant you that. But again, as I will respect the fact that Barca play on their principles. It's high line or bust. We're playing with the high line. That's their style. They roll with that. If you have a problem with that, sort of, get out of here. But I think sometimes especially in the Champions League, especially in the Champions League semifinal, at some points you have to be pragmatic and you have to go and say, yeah, maybe playing with in times where literally whoever is the ball carrier on Inter, their midfielder, the distance between him and the last Barca defender is like 15 yards. What? If he plays a good ball in behind, bang, they're running to the races. And yes, people are going to go and say, like, I remember specifically, this was the one action, it was the 𝐏𝐈𝐍𝐆 challenge that he came back on Thuram with his left foot. And it was again, great tackle, great recovery pace to come back and to block it. However, the position that he had there was, I'm sorry, atrocious. How a simple ball like that, just played in behind, is able to catch you out. Ideally, defending is not just, the glamour of, making the last ditch challenge, etc., so on and so forth. Ideal as a defender, if something like that happens, of course, it's going to happen sometimes in games, but it means that something before then must have gone wrong. And so for him, for Barca to get exposed and just outdone by such a simple ball in behind like that, and for 𝐏𝐈𝐍𝐼𝐶 to have the positioning there initially to be so bad, I think is a bigger worrying sign than, okay, yes, of course, he gets the recovery pace and does it. But the thing is, because in a situation like that, maybe he's a bit late, maybe Thuram chops it back and 𝐏𝐶𝐈𝐶 on his ass, and Thuram finishes it into the bottom corner. So, I mean, yeah, for me, again, the high line, yes, they didn't concede from that, but again, you can't go and tell me that when Mkhitaryan is literally a toenail, like a shoe size away from what? Going in and helping Inter going 4-3 up in this game. That's in the plan. All it takes is for one slight misjudgment or one slight trailing leg from a Barca defender, or for the Inter player to just lean back just a bit for him to be offside. For me, it's too close to call. When you defend, obviously when you're defending in a game, you're always going to make mistakes. But the idea is you try to minimize or decrease the probability that you're going to make a mistake. And playing the really aggressive high line in a Champions League semifinal like this, where I kid you not, every single time Inter would attack, they look dangerous. They look like they're going to score. Every single time, I kid you not. I don't know how you can go and do so. And it really, for me, changes my perspective on who potentially I could have going through, or it changes my thought process. I thought the tie was already pretty even going into it. I think now even more so, even though I had Barca probably edging it, now I think it's even tighter than it was before. And then it gets me on to the set plays, who, again, I didn't know I would be saying this, but I thought PSG, we were terrible from set plays. Oh my goodness. Barca are dreadful from set plays, even worse. Every single, and the thing is, I don't watch Inter Milan, so maybe people in the comments, you guys can tell me how they are in Serie A, how many goals they score from set plays. I'm not sure, so guys, educate me. However, every single set play, 2 goals, 2 set plays. I mean, in fairness, PSG, we were able to, stifle Arsenal. Arsenal, who are on the contrary, one of the best set play teams in the world. They have literally their own set play coordinator, coordinating like an NFL game, so on and so forth. And so, in some sense, okay, it's a bit different. But like Inter, just the corners. I was like, yeah, they're on the second corner, the second Denver Dumfries goal, the third goal that they score. I'm like, yeah, they can score here. This is dangerous. And bang, they go in the score. I'm like, yeah, it's expected. It's expected. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe Lucho and Hansi Flick are have the same ideas. We do not practice defending set plays, but if a goal like that's the goal that sends you out of the Champions League, I'm fuming. I'm absolutely fuming. But yeah, going on and more broadly going on now to the second leg. I don't know. Before in this leg, I thought that, okay, it would have been tight. I know Inter were going to play this way. They're going to sit back and sort of absorb a lot of the pressure and sort of really cause Barca problems, maybe, or really sit back and absorb the pressure as a typical Italian team. I thought Barca have enough offensively to go and basically outscore Inter. And I think my prediction was 3-1. So in fairness, I got Barca scoring 3. What I was not expecting though was for Barca to be so loose and not lackadaisical and so just open at the back. Every single Inter attack, and Inter's not the best attacking team out there, or of the teams left, etc., so on and so forth. And potentially you can make the case that they're probably the worst semifinalists attacking wise left in the competition. Every single time they went forwards, they looked like they were going to score. Denzel Dumfries, one pass, bang, he's already through on goal. Like the amount of times, for me, the best defensive player for Barca for me in this game is a man in the six. Wojciech Szczęsny. The amount of times he had to come in that sweeper role to sweep up a ball that the attacker is just about to get to was ridiculous. And I guess maybe, hey, you go and you say that's how we play. We stick to our that's how we play. That's how we roll. Fair enough. But you think one player, he times it right, where you have a quicker player in there, bang, that's a goal. And I don't get it. And so for me, you go and you think, especially going and seeing, I mean, Barca fans going and saying, oh, it's an okay result. For me, you have to go and say Inter go the happier the two teams going into that the second leg. You went away from home, you got a 3-3 draw to Barcelona, and you hung in the game. And yes, of course, you did definitely suffer, especially in that period in that first half. But likewise, you also showed that, yeah, when you're attacking, you are lethal and you can cause them problems, and severe ones at that. And so, I don't know, on top of the experience, you go and you think that when the average age for Barca players is 26 years old compared to Inter's 30.2. Inter were in the final 2 years ago. I think things tighten up a lot significantly. I probably still ever so slightly edge it to Barca, like 51-49. But if Barca, especially if they play that high line again, I think Inter's scoring a goal from that high line in that second leg. I think Inter scoring a goal from that high line in the second leg. And you go and you think you're going to get the Giuseppe Meazza. I could definitely see Inter going through, just as I could see Barca going through. But yeah, I think Barca, what I would go and say, their play is ping pong ball or yo-yo ball, up and down. The peaks, the highs are high, and the lows are low. But yeah, that's how I think about it. But anyways, guys, if you're a Barca fan, if you guys feel I was being really harsh and overly critical, I'd be really curious in listening to your comments and where you think perhaps my analysis was not correct. I'd really like to know how do you guys feel about the high line? Do you think it's sort of this is what we grind? This is how we roll? I'm not maybe necessarily happy with it, but hey, it's helped us this season. We're going to continue with it, or are you more so? Let's sit back a bit. Let's be a bit more pragmatic and close games off. I'd be curious to hear your takes on all of this. Yeah, thank you to everybody that was on the stream watching the live watch along. And I look forward to seeing you guys again. And remember, stay safe, stay kind, and stay blessed. Godspeed.